everyone, and welcome to Taking Over. I am OLED Ed Fries, and I am joined by the one and only, the natural Astrid Pizarro, and we are here on Ladies' Night on NXT. 5 out of the 7 matches were women's matches. Not only that, we've got 3 more for you next week.
Yes. Part 2.
Sean Cena jumping in. Chase you. Yes. Chase you. And Barry Monkey saying, hello, everyone. Hello, Mr. Barry Monkey. Thank you for staying up late and joining us. Astrid, what do you think? Ladies' night. How'd they do?
It was pretty good, actually. I think the only match that was like, I don't want to, it was too short, and I know why. It was Karmen and Lola. I mean, other than that, everything else was given time, and it gave us time. And not only that, but the crowd was really like hot today with everything, so it really helped like with the energy tonight. So I feel like overall I would give it like, I would say out of 10, like maybe like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 between there.
Yeah. The women got plenty of time. Every match, ironically, every match that was a women's match, with the exception of Lola versus Karmen, because it was too short for one, got a picture-in-picture ad break.
Yep.
Which, you know what? Picture-in-picture is better than just a straight ad break during the women's match. So at least you got to continue watching the match. Every break was a picture-in-picture if there was wrestling going on tonight. So kudos to NXT on that one. Kudos to NXT for just going out there. 5 matches, just gone. I mean, it was just great. Sean Cena saying, great to see Jade at the Eagles Nest for the main event. We will talk about that in a minute. And Perry says, if you don't mind, spoilers. Recap shows are hard for spoilers because the whole show's kind of a spoiler, but I get you. NXT started off with the performance of Vampire by New Year's Day, and it was as awful on mute as it was with the volume turned on. It's not my cup of tea. It might have been fine. I don't know. I was driving, I was listening, and I muted it. I didn't like it. Astrid, what did you think of New Year's Day?
I mean, it's the first time I hear anything by them like this, like live. It wasn't bad. It just, I like how it's starting with this because it's kind of like, let's get this out of the way so we can get on with just the wrestling all together in a row. And I like it. They just started with this. It's like, okay, we're gonna start with this. They kind of like started with popping. It's like you start with this, and it's like, you know, you got the music, and it makes it feel different. It feels almost like a pay-per-view, even though it isn't.
And the good thing that they did with this is they didn't just have New Year's Day there performing that nobody gave a shit about. They looted in with all the promotional stuff for all the matches tonight, which was nice. Like, it was their recap package of how we got here tonight with music, which, you know what? Fine. Like, if you're going to do it that way, at least do it that way so that the rest of us don't have to, we can mute it and just watch the pictures roll by. Because... yikes. Not a fan. Sorry, New Year's Day. Not a fan. We then started with Scarlett and Pinhead in the ring. Or Marie Antoinette and Pinhead, if you want to start having me go ahead and try to remember all these Halloween costumes that I did not write them all down. I wrote a bunch of them down. I did not write them all down. By the way, Shotzi is a fucking amazing Pinhead. I mean, she pulled that shit off incredibly well. Also, kudos to her and Scarlett for being able to go from costume to costume throughout the night.
I didn't
How
expect
many of those were pre-taped? Do you legitimately? How many of those do you think were pre-taped?
I think at least the Carmelo one could be pre-taped. The other one they did was when they turned on the lights for the match, so I doubt that was pre-taped. What was the other one? I know the other ones were in the ring.
Tarot cards with Noam Dar.
That one, yeah. And I feel like there's something else that happened with them too.
No, just those two.
Yeah, I think that in the tarot cards could be one that could be pre-taped too.
Yeah. So probably half and half. But still, 4 different sets of costumes for them throughout the night. So, and you know what? They didn't get in the way. Sometimes the hosting thing gets in the way. I liked how they were weaved into the show, into the storylines of the show, without feeling forced. We then got the Devil's Playground match, which is just wow, this was way better than I thought it had any right to be.
Yeah.
Completely brutally honest. Kiana was the star of this. Roxy, she did fine. Roxanne, you were great. Cool. We're not going to talk about you for the foreseeable future right now. Your costume was great. You did a great Freddy Krueger. Alexa did it better, but that's fine. It's okay. You can't top Alexa, so it's okay. But what? Alexa did Freddy better than Roxanne did. I'm sorry. It's just true. Anyways, Kiana was the star of this match. The bumps that she took throughout this match were brutal. Roxanne swinging off like the little handlebar portion of the swing set to kick her in the face. The thing on the slide, just so many. I mean, the ring post. When she took that ring post to the face, she did not take it to the shoulder like you're supposed to. She took it straight on the noggin. Did you see the egg she had on her forehead?
Yeah.
It was like
It looked
this.
painful.
It looked bad. I can't wait to see the pictures tomorrow on NXT social media when they show the update of Kiana's face, because she had a monster of an egg on that noggin of hers. But she impressed me throughout. This is not Kiana James from accounting. This is Kiana James straight out. She stole the show for me in this match. Absolutely stole the show. Roxanne did all the Roxanne things, and that's fine. But Kiana was incredible. This was so good for Kiana. Even in a loss, it made her look like $1 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really did. I know the only thing I would have wished I would have done more inside the ring, but I did like how they knew that area with the like playground where it was at, and they used mostly that area because if you notice, they didn't use the ring, they didn't use towards commentary. They let that more for Blair and Gigi later, but it's like they used that certain area, they focused on it, and there were so many close calls because we had that moment where Roxanne is on top of the barricade about to do like a head scissors, and the way that Kiana holds onto her and just slams her on the barricade. And even like standing on the barricade, having that back and forth as Roxanne's thinking about doing the Russian leg sweep, but she doesn't do it. And I was like, oh my God, I'm freaking scared for these two right now. You can tell that like they keep going like that and touching the barricade and holding on. But yeah, it looked incredible from that point of view too. And just thinking how brutal it looked so many times on the garbage can too. The power bomb on the garbage can was another moment that was like, holy crap. I like that they were not afraid to go the extra mile with this match because I was wondering what the match was going to be like and then how they were going to incorporate themselves into the match. And I like how they used everything that they had around them. They were not afraid of using everything from the barricade to the playground area to the other side of the barricade. But yeah, overall, I love how they started with this match. It was a great choice for an opener. The crowd was already loving it, which made me think of like they're already like this, so it can only continue on from there on. But yeah, these two killed it. I feel like it just reminded me a lot of Tiffany and Becky with their match. Of like, even though Becky won, Tiffany still got highlighted in that way. And here, same thing. It's just even though Roxanne got that win, it was that showcase for Kiana more than anything, and it was just incredible all around.
Yeah, I mean, it was they tore apart that almost the entirety of that playground set, which is nice because they used almost every part of it. Kiana was using the chain link from the swing set. One of them used the swing as a weapon. Kiana used the teeter totter to beat up on Roxanne, and then Roxanne gets the win by hitting pop rocks on top of the brick laden bag. And then she dumps out the brick to show the candy brick all broken up. Just fantastic. Absolutely killer start to the show. Shockingly, we then took a downturn in the show with Carmelo Hayes with Vic Joseph backstage and yesterday. And basically, all Vic wanted to talk about was Trick Williams. And I get it. But, like, he has a championship match. You spend 14 minutes with Ilja Dragunov later talking about everything under the sun. You couldn't ask Carmelo more than 2 questions that weren't about Trick Williams? Come on, Vic. You're better than that.
No, gotta make him look guilty.
Carmelo denies the trick attack. I don't think I believe him. Do you believe him when he says he didn't do it?
No. Not at all.
Going back to the costumes, Barry says, it's amazing what you can do with just 20 minutes in a makeup department. It is. And by the way, the WWE makeup department is top-notch. The people who work backstage for WWE to do those kinds of things, those could have all been live segments with that department, with the amount of talent that they have back there doing that. Speaking of Scarlett, she goes ahead and gives a tarot reading to Noam Dar and the rest of Metaphor, and none of it's good. And then, while Metaphor is complaining about it, Noam starts to try to touch the cards, and they all keep yelling at him. By the way, I do think it's hysterical that the three people with darker skin, I'm going to use the word darker because they're not all, but the darker skinned people are all the ones like, no, don't touch the cards. Like, they all know how this works.
We know better than that, yeah.
And Noam's like, no, I can do this. It's okay. Yeah. By the way, while this is all going on, Tozawa steals the cup. Yay. Good job, Tozawa. I mean, it was a fine segment. I didn't need it. But, again, incorporating Scarlett and Shotzi on the show in a way that didn't feel super forced. It makes sense for the Halloween theme to have a tarot card reading. It makes sense to use Noam Dar here because he's funny. So it makes perfect sense that this is where you would utilize all of that. We then get Lexis King making his debut in a throne, a pushable throne.
That's a cool entrance, though.
Not the only throne that we saw tonight, but we'll get to that later. Barry says, I think Trick attacked himself after seeing how Von Wagner is getting over. I mean, Trick is over almost as much as LA Knight at this point. I don't think he needs to attack himself to get more over. And of course, I was correct. It is Dante Chen that was his opponent. I mean, there was only so many of them. By the way, Vic Joseph says Dante Chen calls himself, and I quote, the gatekeeper of NXT.
I was wondering, was like when he said gatekeeper, I was like, who's he talking about? I was like, I haven't heard Lexis say he's the gatekeeper, and then I got the clue that he was. Yeah, and then I realized that, and I was like, since when?
So former NXT gatekeepers, as far as NXT's been concerned, were Tyler Breeze, because he was the match that everybody had to have in order to get ready to go to the main roster. You had to wrestle Tyler. The other gatekeeper, kind of storyline, but more just as a massive veteran in the back who NXT trusted with everybody, was Cassius Ohno. So in my mind, those are your two gatekeepers of NXT. You know, everybody. I don't consider Dante Chen a gatekeeper of NXT.
No.
I like the match. Lexis King has some. I didn't watch him in AEW, so I don't know if any of this is similar to the stuff he was doing there or if it's different. I haven't seen his father wrestle in 15 years, so my homework this week is to go back and watch a couple of Brian Pillman matches and go ahead and watch this Lexis King match again to see if there's anything that I can notice from the two of them, similarities in the ring, anything he's taking from his dad. I don't think I'm going to find anything. Nothing screamed out to me to be like his dad. I shockingly have to say something I thought I'd never say on the show. I agree with Booker. Vic Joseph called it a clothesline. And Booker said, are you sure that was a clothesline? I don't know what you call it. So Dante Chen had his back to Lexis King and his face facing the camera. And Lexis bounced off the ropes and kind of kneed him in the back and kind of falling clotheslined the back of his head. It was effective and interesting, but I question whether it was a clothesline or not. He does use his arm to clothesline him at the end, so I guess it's a clothesline. But it was a bit of an interesting offense. A lot of this match was interesting offense from him.
Yeah, it really was.
What did you think about Lexis King's debut? As we say hi to Chris Best, who said, good evening, everyone. Lexis's style is a bit different from his time in AEW.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for letting us know that it is different. Like I said, I don't watch AEW, so I can't really comment on that.
Yeah, I feel like it was different because it was more like, and not only that, but he was mostly in tag teams. So it's like you don't get to see him the way he was tonight. But just like tonight, you feel like he was like aggressive, and it was like always on Dante, not giving him a chance to like take a breather. That's how I felt. And it was always like a sequence. There was always something happening next, next to it. There was no like stopping in between there. Um, I feel like it was more striking in a way, I would say, because I feel like it was more high flying where he was in the tag team of like always diving and things like that. So it definitely felt different this time around. But like that's why I asked you, I was like, if there was anything that seemed like Pillman would have done, because I wasn't watching when Pillman was wrestling. So that's why I asked, was like, do you see any kind of resemblance between his style and the way his dad used to wrestle? Because that'll be interesting if they have some kind of overlap. But and that's why I don't know. That's why I was asking you because I haven't been watching wrestling for that long as you.
So
But
most of my time having watched Brian Pillman was his time in WWE, where he very rarely wrestled because of all the injuries that he had suffered from the car crash beforehand, and inevitably the drug addiction that ended up taking his life. So it was hard to really gauge his wrestling style, much like his dad. But like I said, I'm going to definitely go ahead and take a look back. There are some Brian Pillman matches that I know that I can find and I know that I can watch, and that I'm very excited to watch. His work with Steve Austin as stunning Steve Austin in the Hollywood Blondes, his match against Ultimo Dragon, I think it is, on Nitro, one of the first real big cruiserweight matches that that WCW ever had. It's going to be a lot of network this week as I go ahead and find that. On that same point, CBR, Chris Best says his look, though, kind of looked like a mix of the Loose Cannon and Flying Brian. I agree. He kind of looked like his dad, which is expected because he does look like his dad. But Barry brings up an interesting point, and I don't necessarily disagree with it, but I think it's an interesting point to bring up. I've always thought Pillman Jr. had mid-card stalwart written all over him. Ashton, what do you think about that?
I feel like if I think about it, like in the AW type of aspect, yeah, I feel like it was always like just stuck in the tag team, and I don't think he will ever get out of it. And when he did, nothing much happened, and then he left. Being here, I could see him kind of being in the North American Championship for a little bit, just to maybe start, and maybe moving forward and more towards the future when he's been here for a while, then maybe towards the NXT Championship. But I feel like it's too early to like really tell because I'm like, if I base it off of AW, I would say no. But in NXT, you never know because we always get people like a Carmelo who was always in the North American as he started and kind of started climbing up as time happened. So maybe something like that would happen with him too.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got all the assets that he needs to be a star. He's got the look. He's obviously talented enough in the ring. The match tonight with Dante was incredibly entertaining for the short period of time it was because it was a showcase match for Pillman Jr. Lexis King, I'm sorry. But I think he can be a world champion. He's got the ability to cut a promo. He's got the ability to wrestle in the ring. Do I see him being WWE World Champion? Probably not. I'd probably never see him doing something like that. But I could see him being NXT Champion. I could see him being Intercontinental Champion. Yeah. So I think Barry's kind of right. Like mid-card stalwart, I can kind of see. Then again, there are worse places to be than a mid-card stalwart. Just ask Mr. Perfect, Roddy Piper. And by the way, yes, I don't consider Roddy Piper a main eventer. For everybody who's about to throw their computer at me, and Chris Best is going to be one of them. I do not consider Roddy Piper a main eventer. I don't. I think he did his best work as a mid-carder. I don't look at Roddy Piper and think main event star.
I'm waiting for the.
I'm waiting for Chris Best comment, and it's going to come.
I wouldn't. I can't comment on that because I wasn't watching back then. So just
I know.
I'm not in this conversation. I'm just. I'll see what happens.
While we wait for Chris Best to tell me I'm wrong, Arianna Grace versus Kelani Jordan. Astrid, go ahead and give us your thoughts on the first of two breakout matches tonight.
Well, first we had Chase U. What happened to Chase U?
We did have Chase U. Sorry, I put my notes. Chase U backstage, just talking it up. Thea making a big deal about the towel. I really thought she was going to throw in the towel tonight. Really did. I like these four together. I'll be honest, they're growing on me. The four of them are really, really good to me. They work. And then the family comes by and they talk about it's better to see Andre in this position than the last time they saw. Like, what are they talking about? And even Duke asked, like, what are they talking about?
Right? I was wondering that too. And the way that Andre's like, nah, don't even bring it up. I'm like, what the heck are you guys talking about? Did I miss something here? Wow.
Right, we got a couple comments in here. We
Yeah.
got Harry Mark. I never met, and I agree. I don't
No.
think it's an insult either. Mid card stalwart is a good thing because some of the greatest wrestlers in history, for the most part, we see them higher than they ever really accomplished. Again, like a Mr. Perfect is my biggest example. Mr. Perfect is considered a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest of all time, but he never really rose above the mid card in his entire career. Every company needs a few. Absolutely. Every company needs more than a few. The more mid-card stalwarts you have, the better, because they can always go up to the main event scene, wrestle and lose, and then come back down. And Chris Best saying, I met Roddy Piper and worked with him, and to be honest, I agree with you, Ed. All my memories of Piper were his mid-card feuds, and I told him that. Like, it's hard. Like, and I'm glad that you agree with me, because it's funny to sit here and go, the man who was in one of the main events of WrestleMania 2 and look at it and go, but he was only a mid-card stalwart. Like, he wrestled Mr. T at WrestleMania in a boxing match. Like, that's one of WWE's biggest matches ever. I believe that match might even be in the Hall of Fame. I don't quote me on it. I think it might be. I know the WrestleMania 1 main event is in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if that one is. But Piper was a fantastic wrestler who just never really was the guy. And for me, it's always, sadly enough, his time in WCW when he was past his prime was when he was a main event player. But then again, he was past his prime and you don't hold that against him because he shouldn't have been in the main event there wrestling Hulk Hogan. And again, nobody should be wrestling Hulk Hogan. But that's a different story for a different time. But no, I agree. A mid-card stalwart is not an insult because some of the greatest wrestlers of all time are mid-card stalwarts who had the chance to be main eventers and never really, really did the main event. Then we move on to Arianna Grace versus Kelani Jordan.
There
we go back to Astrid.
I think this was, if I could say it like that, this was the better of the breakout tournament matches tonight. I feel like they had good chemistry, these two girls, and they had like decent time to like. I feel like it was a good balance to show off both of them a little bit, even with Kelani winning at the end. But I feel like it was a good showcasing for both of them. And I did love Kalani's Spider-Gwen gear / costume tonight too. But yeah, it's like I like the back and forth between these two. And they were able to do a little bit more than Lola and was able to do with Carmen later on, which I was like, I kind of felt it because I feel like out of the four, these two have more experience than the other two. So it makes sense that they got more time as well. And I really enjoyed it. And it just made me happy. I thought either way, I'm happy with whoever wins. So I'm like, am I happy you ever seen Kalani win at the end there too?
Yeah, this was a good match. I really enjoyed it. Kelani does win. I thought Arianna Grace was fantastic in this match with her Charlotte Flair inspired gear and her pink, massive pink knee brace that apparently matched her nails. I didn't notice, but Vic did because apparently she told Vic that she was upset that Booker didn't notice. Trust me, Booker was looking at other things, Miss Grace. Yeah. But no, I mean, the daughter of Santino Marella was obviously going to have some skill in the ring. I mean, we've seen her a bit before. Like, we know kind of what she can do. We've seen her a little bit before she got hurt. So we know what to expect with her. Kalani's been on television week after week for the most part, really doing good work. She's been getting better and better every week. And she had a great match tonight, and she gets the win, and good for her. I mean, I would have rather Grace got the win. I think that would have made a better match next week. But, you know, if you're going to do face versus heel, it had to be. I don't know if there was a baby face in the other match, I'll be honest. I don't know what they want Karmen to be, if she's a baby face or a heel, but she needs more time on Level Up. But we'll get to that. CBRS says some of those mid-card stalwarts usually up having more memorable matches on the card. I agree. The Intercontinental title is the workhorse title for a reason. You know, one of the greatest WrestleMania matches in history is Randy Savage versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Like, those mid-card stalwarts are the reason why a company gets over, because you have to have those guys who can just go out there and take 15 minutes and tear it up. Grace impresses me with her in-ring awareness. She lands in the right places. She does. She was always in the right position for Kelani, which was nice. Kelani doing a better job making sure she's in the right position for everything, too. It's something that we'll talk about later on, of the girls not being in the right position for each other all the time. But yes, I agree with that in this one. Something Becky Lynch. Yes, Becky Lynch still has issues being in the right place at the right time. Again, we'll talk about that when we get to the main event. I really thought Arianna was going to win. She was my pick. I agree. I thought she was going to win the whole thing. I didn't see a reason to have Kelani or Lola pick up the wins in the entirety of the tournament. I mean, Lola had to win her match, but in the grand scheme of the tournament, I thought it would have been made a whole lot more sense to have Arianna Grace win it, because I still thought we were going to have Becky Lynch as NXT Women's Champion, but we'll get to that. But overall, we've had two women's matches, two good women's matches. We then get a Von Wagner, not Braun Breaker. We get him later. We get Von Wagner backstage, back in his PT, going ahead and doing some more training, and he's yelling at Robert Stone for going ahead and taking the match with Braun Breaker next week. I still can't believe that's actually happening.
Me neither.
And Vaughn tells him he can't be there. And Stone says, that's fine, I got it. If only he wasn't a big star in OVW right now, how perfect would it be for Robert Stone to bring in a bodyguard for next week, and that bodyguard be Mr. Spectacular, Jesse Goddard. Yeah. Bring back that Impact feel, Robbie E. and Jesse. Like, I want it so bad, and I know it won't happen, but I'm just like, oh, please, can we do it just once? We then have Scarlett and Shotzi outside the wheel. Shotzi is now Edward Scissorhands, and Scarlett was something that I don't remember. I don't remember what costume was it. Chris says, I would mark out hard if Jesse shows up on NXT. Like, it's not impossible. He only works for OVW. It's legitimately possible that he makes a one-off appearance. I think you can give OVW that little bit of a nudge. Al Snow's there. He's still friendly with the WWE. Like, I think there's a way you can make that happen.
Hold on, let me tweet at Jesse. No, I'm kidding.
Do it. I'm going to tweet it later tonight that I want to see Jesse back up Robbie E next week. I think it'd be great. Chris Best says, dude, Jesse is great. I found him on Big Brother. I adored him on Big Brother. I watched him during his Impact run. Is he the greatest wrestler in the world? No. Is he a good human being? I don't think so. But he's entertaining as all hell. Oh, come on. You've watched him enough. You know he's probably not a good human being. I don't think he's playing a character. I think he is who he is.
I know, just made me like, was it that copy of course?
I found him too on Big Brother.
I feel like all I remember is him and Tara / Victoria, and I was like, those moments.
I think they need new medical research on Von Wagner while he's in there. How can a human have absolutely no charisma or personality? Zero. Nothing. He's not wrong. Vaughn still, as much as I like the storyline and I think he's doing a good job, no charisma. None. All the personality of Von Wagner is all storyline. It's not things he's doing. Like, it's the storyline and he's doing the bare minimum to get over with it. But my God, he's got no feeling.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I feel bad.
I do. I feel, like I said, I think he's a fine wrestler. Like, he's better than he used to be. But he's not great by any means in stretch of the imagination. And as Barry says, very little charisma, very little personality.
Yeah.
It's bad when Braun Breaker has more personality and charisma.
I was about to say Braun wasn't about the same, and then Braun improved a little bit, and then Vaughn kind of stayed there.
Chris Best, I want so bad to get behind Von Wagner, but he's really vanilla with her. I agree. All the goodness of his promos come from this great writing that the NXT team has done to give us the character of Von Wagner. It's not him pulling stuff. The difference between him and Lexis King. Even if WWE told Lexis King, we want you to deny your father and we want you to go ahead and say that this guy is who you want to emulate. He's bringing it out. He's making you feel the things he's saying on the screen. Von Wagner just sort of comes out and does the things that I'm like, I like the story, so I want to like you. But you're bland as fuck. It's bad when Jay White's more bland than you. Like,
What
Jay
about Alex
White
Shelley,
is
though?
better than him. And Jay White is awful. Jay
What about
White
Alex
is a
Shelley?
charisma vacuum.
No, Alex Shelley.
No, Alex Shelley just doesn't deserve to be world champion. There's a difference.
There we go. Andre, that's for you.
Trust me. Mike got on that to me on the Marvel Talk episode that I was doing with Andre.
I know. He asked me to bring it up somehow. That was my opportunity.
Oh.
You're welcome, Andre.
While Scarlett, getting back to Scarlett and Shotzi, they're out there next, spin the wheel, make the deal, and out come the Creeds. I don't know what Julius was supposed to be, except Astrid's favorite piece of eye candy.
Yes.
Brutus, I think, was a clown. I'm going to assume that he was a clown.
Yeah, he looked like I'm trying to look back at the video to see Scarlett's, but she just has kind of like I forgot the lady's name. I'll think about it later. But no, Julius is just dressed up kind of like just a hoodie, some beach shorts, I guess. There's nothing to it. So
Julius Creed is being Julius Creed. Got it.
Yeah.
Anyways, they want to match with the Garzas, which makes perfect sense. Scarlett suggests that they spin the wheel, make the deal. And this wheel spin took forever.
I wonder why.
CBRS Entertainment does clarify he was a vaudeville-style clown. I mean, Brutus is a clown, so makes sense. Anyways, the spin took forever, and it finally lands on tables, ladders, and scares. And I'm like, really? Like, fine. I mean, like, a TLC match is cool and all, but why these two teams in a TLC match? It feels like my booking on GM mode, Wrestle Draft, which you can catch season 3's debut tomorrow night. But, like, it's a TLC match for no reason. It's just a TLC match. We then get the Chase U versus the Family match as the Family came out and they locked eyes with the Creeds. And I'm like, oh, look, the future NXT Tag Team title match. How soon would I be proven a liar on that one?
Yep.
Chase U got the win.
Can't believe
Chase U is our new NXT Tag Team Champions. JC Jane tries to get Andre to use the crowbar as a cheating mechanism. Andre slides it out of the ring. She goes up on the apron as the referee is distracted. And Andre Chase rolls up stacks with a 1, 2, 3. I don't know.
Yeah. I like the ending sequence though. I like how quickly that was done to the point of like Tony bouncing out the ropes. He notices that he took down JC, and then having not only that, but having JC kind of give Andre the weapon. Andre's like, yeah, I'm not doing that either. And then the roll up for like I thought that he was gonna kick out because it's one of those roll ups that wasn't really tight. You could tell it was kind of loose, so I was expecting him to kick Andre forward, kind of towards the ropes. So when I hear the 1, 2, 3, I'm like, wait. And I'm waiting for the music, and then the music happens. Like, oh, it was a 3. Shoot.
By the way, we also have to credit the MVP, Duke Hudson, with one of the greatest breakups of a pin in the history of professional wrestling. Slingshot German suplex to break up the pin. My God, was that fantastic. By the way, picture perfect timing. He did all of that in the matter of the 3 seconds that the pin was happening, too.
Yeah.
The ref didn't have to hold the count or anything. It was perfect timing. Thank you, Duke. That was one of the greatest things I've that's one of the most athletic things I've ever seen in a wrestling ring. To be able to do that sequence to that picture perfect timing was just fantastic. Overall thoughts on the match as a whole?
I love that it was fun. I was expecting just that Thea had thrown in that towel, as my friend Shay had told him, since I was watching out for her. So when JC came up, I was like, oh no, JC's gonna do it. And then I was expecting her to do it. She gave him the weapon though. But overall, I'm like, it was fun. And the result came totally unexpected. Obviously, the 2 championship matches ended up with 2 new champions tonight. So imagine for next week.
Yeah, no titles are changing hands next week now.
No,
I really liked it. Like you said, I thought it was fun. I thought it was great. It was an interesting match and a surprise for once. How great is it in professional wrestling to have something legitimately surprise you? We'll talk more about surprises later on. Speaking of surprises, actually, we'll talk a little bit more about one now. Nathan Frazier having a good promo segment.
Right?
Nathan Frazier doing his talk show bullshit, hot takes, bad weight. I don't know whatever the fuck he calls his show.
Hard hitting home truth. I had to write it down.
It's crap. But you know what? This week was really good. He was banging on Dominic Mysterio. I thought it was great. He talked about how Dom has just a face that you just want to slap. I thought that was great. He also used one of my favorite English phrases in the world. I've listened to a lot of British people and English people, Europeans in general. And I don't know if you know what this is. Have you ever heard of a chocolate teapot?
No, I was wondering about that because I like how it started, and I was like, no, I don't know if I should.
Okay, so it's an actual thing, like that there's a chocolate teapot, and so basically, when someone has no use whatsoever, they talk about they're as useful as a chocolate teapot because as soon as you put anything hot with chocolate, it melts. So it's useless. There's nothing more useless than a chocolate teapot. So I loved it when he called Dom as useful as a chocolate teapot. I thought that was great. We get confirmed later on. Night 2, Nathan Frazier, Dominic Mysterio for the North American Championship. That'll be fun.
Yes.
We then get one more great backstage segment with Baron Corbin backstage. He was funny in this, but he didn't say anything that mattered. Like, I literally have Corbin promo. Great. Didn't say anything worthwhile. Says he didn't attack Trick.
Yeah, it was mostly Mackenzie when he says, "Oh, I did everything in my power to win that match." She goes, "What does that mean?" And he goes, "What do you mean? That means like I said it. I did everything in my power to win it." She goes, "Does that mean it's like in Trick though?" And he's like, "I don't need to do that. That could have been Dijak or Carmelo. What are you looking at me for?" But I like the back and forth they had there, though.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Mama Fries, in one of her great statements, goes, "Wow, look at the height difference." Poor little Mackenzie Mitchell next to 6'7" Baron Corbin. Like, how far out do you have to frame that shot to get the two of them in shot together? And she's not short, by the way. Like, I've stood near Mackenzie Mitchell. She's not a short woman. Like, she's a good 5'6", 5'7".
And she has heels most of the time too.
Yeah, and she was still a good foot shorter than Baron Corbin in this segment. But again, it was fine. Again, it wasn't a bad promo segment, but he didn't say anything of substance. Like, next week, I'm going to be watching the main event, and I'm going to, whoever wins is going to, wish they didn't. And I'm like, okay, cool, fine. Like, I expected that. We get to women's match number 3 on the night. The Lights Out match between Gigi Dolin and Blair Davenport. This was pretty good. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I like that. I think Gigi should have done a different hair color for this match. This, by the way, was a much better version than the pitch black match that they did at the Royal Rumble. Because it was lights out and black light, but you didn't have to have everybody dressed in neon.
No. You can only find Gigi by her hair, though, at least.
Yes, but that's a problem because that means you can't surprise your opponent like Blair with her black hair. She can sneak up on
I
you.
was thinking she sticks out like a highlighter.
I literally made the statement. She's as hidden as a fire because of how bright that. Her hair was so bright orange that was brighter than the orange on the side of the ring apron. Do
It
you know
almost felt
how
like glow in the
orange you
dark.
have to be?
Yeah, every time I found it, I was like, it just feels like you glow in the dark at this point. That's the best way I can describe it. But still, it was such
Chris
a
Best
fun
is
match,
before we
though.
get there. Chris Best, you might have to put her on an apple box. It's true. Sorry.
But no, yeah, I feel like overall it was better than I thought it was gonna be because I was kind of afraid being a lights out match. I was like, yeah, this is not gonna be good like on TV. But either way, they had a good back and forth. And I like how I forgot what the spot was with the chair, but the chair, they just swung it back. And then Vic is like, Book, are you okay? Because the chair was really close to us. And he's like asking him like once or twice at this point, are you okay, Book? Are you okay? But they had a back and forth. And I love how when Gigi brings in the table and then Blair closes it and the crowd starts just chanting at her for the table. It's like, no, I'm not having it now. And then she brings her own table in. That's when Vic goes, oh, it looks like she didn't want the one Gigi brought in. She wants one that she brought in this time. But everything from the moments in the steel steps to the table to the trash can, that Falcon arrow on the table, chef's kiss. I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And as Chris Best says, you know what? More Halloween costume kind of attire. As Chris Best says, okay, I'm sold on it. I'm sold on Blair Davenport based solely off of her entrance. She paid tribute to one of my favorite Stephen King stories, It. I thought she was Pennywise. I was later corrected by Astrid to be told that it was Georgie.
It's Georgie.
By the way, for those knowing, I've never seen the movie It because I don't have a death wish for all these horror movies like this one has. And by the way, if you want to see more horror stuff, make sure that you follow this one right here and Bobby Munson right here on our local establishment, as they've had the last 2 weeks. I think we've had a show for what is it called? Killer Cuts.
Killer Cuts. Yeah.
I knew it. I just had to think. Chris Bust saying, "Yep, she was Georgie."
Yeah, I had to tell Ed twice which the costumes they were. That's how I knew he wasn't a horror fan.
I've told you I wasn't a horror fan before.
I know, but if I didn't, now I would know tonight too.
Well,
It's Georgie.
They could have put a light on top for poor Blair trying to put that table up. The show overran 15 minutes because, I mean, she did have a bit of a problem with that table. That I don't think it was that bad. But no, the match was good. I thought it flowed very well.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't take. It did what it was supposed to do. It didn't take very long. It was different from the opening match. We had two hardcore-esque matches, and the Falls Count Anywhere match didn't really feel the same as the lights out hardcore match that we got here. They felt different, which was nice considering that's a challenge to do two similar type things like that on the same show and make sure those matches felt different. And they did. And I was impressed. I think Blair is going to be the number one challenger right out the gate for Lyra Valkyria.
Agreed.
Praying for a transition. Anyways, we then get an Ilja promo, which felt like it took forever. The only nice thing in this entire thing was him talking about his son and going home and seeing his son with the NXT championship and the way his son reacted to that. That was the only good thing I took from this entire promo, other than Ilja looks really good in a suit.
Yeah, he knows.
He cleans up very well for the chaos magnet that he is every other hour of the day. Do you have any thoughts on the Ilja promo here?
No, I feel like you said earlier, this was more focused on the match and asking him about his strategy to keep the championship and how is it different this time that he's the champion versus when he had been the challenger before, versus with Carmelo that he was asked about Trick most of the time, not even about the match in itself. But yeah, this one was more focused.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll say about this is that it was nice to talk about the match because the match is happening next week.
Is it?
Way to make sure that I know that Carmelo Hayes isn't winning this match by basically telling us that there's no reason to pay attention to it, even though it's next week's main event. It was fine. It was a good interview. I like how he's like, "How are you going to change?" And he's like, "I'm not." But what are you going to do differently? Nothing.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the same things I always do. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, that makes sense. But at the end of the day, nothing changes. We then get a picture of Carmelo Hayes watching the interview backstage. By the way, isn't it great how people in NXT can just watch the TV screen like with the camera over their shoulder, as opposed to them having to be like sideways?
Like normal people do, you mean?
What's that?
Like normal people do?
Yes, but this is WWE and professional wrestling, and
I
nobody
know.
watches television like normal people.
I know.
So I just thought it was nice that, we got to
Mhm.
see him watching this like a normal person. To then have the two twins, and from what I thought was The Exorcist, who was recorrected. And again, as if Astrid didn't already know that I didn't watch horror movies, I thought it was The Exorcist to be told it was The Shining. The twins from The Shining basically telling him that he did it, and the cards have said that he's the one who attacked Trick. And he's like, no, I didn't do it.
I like how he got scared by the girls, though. It was so funny seeing him like get started. It's like, what the hell with the voices? They sounded like the Bella twins for a moment, though, which is creepy to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wait, the Bellas are here? And then I saw them, I was like, what the heck was that? Yeah.
They were very creepy. Chris Best saying, "Oh, I love that they did the over the can." Yeah, I love the over the shoulder shots. It's just the other great thing was like they had him watching on Hulu on his phone later on in the night. Like that's cool. Like I like that idea that like you don't have to just watch a monitor in the back like an idiot. You can like take out your phone and watch USA on your phone.
Yeah.
We then get Tiffany backstage in the NXT breakout room. And apparently this is Fallon Henley. I could have sworn it was Kiana James. It tells you about how much I really enjoyed the mockery that is the mocking of Tiffany Stratton. That's an outrage and disrespectful, and she should have never done it. And Fallon Henley's going to pay next week. No, it was great. I loved it. I thought it was hysterical. What do you think of this?
I'm trying not to cry again.
Yes, Ashley throughout this entire thing was like, all her notes were is, I'm crying, I'm in tears.
I mean, imagine from my point of view, get a message going, is that Kiana? And I'm like, what is I thought I was looking at something different for a moment. I was like, what am I missing here that I don't see Kiana on my screen? And then I was so confused at first, and they're like, no, like the one dressed up as Tiffany is like Kiana. I'm like, oh no. She did great though. It's like, I'm the center of the universe. See, that's the universe, and that's me. I loved it. There you go.
It was disrespectful.
You didn't even know who it
was. I know. I knew who it was supposed to be. I just didn't know who was doing the mocking, who needed to get their ass kicked. Tiffany needs to pull a piece out of Chelsea Green's playbook and go talk to the manager and go ahead and get this dealt with. Barry Monkey says, do you think the two of them might become a tag team?
Hell no.
I think he's talking about Scarlett and Shotzi.
Oh.
Is that who you're talking about, Barry? Go ahead and remind us. I think Scarlett and Shotzi might be a tag team.
Scotchy, is that what the tag team name is?
You could call them Scotchy. You can call them Scotchy.
I'm sorry, that threw me off.
And yes, he is talking about Shotzi and Scarlett.
No, I was saying hell no to Fallon and Tiffany for sure, but the other two, I don't know.
Maybe. Scarlett is a trained professional. For all the people who forget here, Scarlett is a trained professional wrestler. WWE may not like the fact that that's a true statement, but it is a true statement. She had women's matches, and they weren't entirely train wrecks. Chris Best, oh my God, I'm dying of laughter here. I'm glad you all find humor in my misery. Poor Tiffany Stratton, only one woman gets to say,
all I have to say now is it's Tiffy time.
Alan, you're going to get it next week.
And you mean Kiana?
A little lady.
Don't you mean Kiana?
Maybe her too. She can get it too. Tiffany's got enough ass kicking for all of them. She can kick all their asses. It wasn't awful. It wasn't good.
I was gonna say, let's not bring back the impact stuff that Scarlett did. I don't want to talk about that.
You don't want to talk about the smoke show? She had her own little lounge on the side of the thing, and she had Falaba. You don't want to talk about Falaba and Scarlett over there in Impact?
I'm good, thanks.
All right. Well, then go ahead and talk to me about Lola versus Karmen Petrovic.
I don't want to say this was a train wreck because I don't want to describe it. That's why I said this was.
Has anybody ever watched Busting Out? You know how they go off the rails? This went off the rails.
There was a point that I even went like, what the hell was that? Because they keep like swinging back at each other, like one pulling on the other one's arm, and they were going nowhere in the corner. And I was like, what are you doing? Are you trying to get her to the ropes? You're trying to get her to their turnbuckle? They were just like, wee, like pulling on each other. I was like, what was the point in this?
They were reversals of Irish whips, Astrid.
Sure, if you want to call it that. But I'm glad this was shorter than the compared to the other matches. These two, yeah, I'm not a fan.
Look, we
not a fan.
Busting Out, and one of the hosts magically
we summoned him.
We did.
Yeah, but no, this was not my favorite one out of the two. I don't know how it will go next week with her and Kelani. Hopefully it's better because these two were not it. I'm glad this was the only match they had to do.
You know what? I don't think we're going to get the same time that Arianna Grace and Kelani Jordan got next week when we have Lola Vice versus Kelani Jordan, because if they do, that's going to be a train wreck. Yep. Lola's serviceable in the ring. And I'm a big fan of Lola, and the best I can say is serviceable. I tried to say fine, and I couldn't bring myself to say it.
I noticed.
Karmen is just downright bad. She's almost Lash Legend bad. Like, she's that level of bad in the ring.
It wasn't bad up until they started like that pulling on each other. That's when I went, what is going on here? Like, I feel like they don't know what they're doing. And not so long after that, the match ended. And then the pin happened. I was like, yep, that's it. And it just, that kick in itself, it didn't feel like it was the finisher for it to end the match. But.
Well, I'm glad it was the end because I didn't want to see any more.
No, I was too.
Yeah. Perez seems to appear every time something he's involved in gets mentioned. This is true. And before we go on and talk anything else, we're going to go ahead and we're going to tell you what you can see the rest of this week on our local establishment. Yes, those are all the wonderful things that you can see this week. And just a programming note, because we keep forgetting to tell Bobby Money Munson, and I really need to apologize to him for that. Following Ring Respect Radio this week, me and Andre are going to be going live on Thursday night to talk about the episode of Loki that airs earlier that evening. So shortly after the episode is over, Andre and I will be live to go ahead and talk about Loki, because our weekend schedule is not prohibiting us to make it on Saturday. So definitely catch that as we go. And of course, you can check out all of the Our Local Establishment socials in the things down below. But if you want to go ahead and get energized like me and Astrid desperately need tonight, but unfortunately I finished it all earlier today, you can go ahead and go to wwenxt.com or scan that QR code just below Astrid right over there. Or you could just go ahead and get their brand new app on the App Store and on the Play Store. You can go ahead and get Rogue Energy. And when you go there, go ahead and try their new Ruby Splash hydration flavor. It is fantastic, I'm sure, but we all know my favorite is the sour watermelon flavor, and I make sure that I use the promo code OLEPODS to get 10% off all of my orders, and you can do so too. So make sure you go to rogueenergy.com, and if you do, use the promo code OLEPODS to get 10% off your order. Well, we're getting ready to finish up the show tonight. We only got a couple more segments to talk about. We got Chase U celebrating and heading to the outside to go ahead and leave the arena for the night. And Chelsea Green and her dog show up. I say her dog. It was Piper dressed as a dog on a chain. So we're gonna get
Jason. A wolf.
Huh?
Red Riding Hood and the wolf? No, that's what that was.
Okay. I didn't want to see either one of them tonight. I especially don't want to see them next week wrestling against Thea Hale and JC Jane.
Oh.
At least Chelsea's going to have to defend those stupid titles for once. I think she's gone longer than any champion after winning a championship and not defending that title. Has she ever actually defended the tag team titles?
I think since being with Piper, no.
Has she ever defended it before Piper?
I think they did like maybe once or twice.
Okay. I don't ever
remember. It barely happened.
Let's be honest. It's Chelsea Green. Nobody remembers when she has a wrestling match. Matt Cardona doesn't even remember when she wrestles. Am I wrong?
Am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong.
Tell me I'm wrong. Anyways, that'll be happening next week. We then get Metaphor bitching about the cup being stolen and everybody trying to blame each other. And then we go ahead and we see on the telephone that Kira Tozawa has posted a picture of himself with the championship and has told Noam Dar that he can come find him next week in the haunted house to get it. I do think it's funny that they're doing this considering the last time somebody had a championship stolen in NXT, they did the exact same thing when Dexter Lumis stole Carmelo Hayes' North American championship, and he had to go to the haunted house on Halloween Havoc to go get it. Ironically, also, Carmelo posted that exact same video footage earlier today. You have Dar Amazing. So if Thea and JC win next week, would that make Thea the youngest women's tag team? Yes, it would definitely make her the youngest. It might make her one of the youngest women's champions in WWE history.
Yeah.
And let's hope that that's a record that doesn't change next week. Chris Best says that she has defended it a few times on Raw. Chris would know, as Chris is one of the co-hosts of the Raw Watch Along that you can catch every Monday night. And also make sure that you catch Chris every Tuesday night right before we go on the air with Turnbuckle Talk, where him and Carl Carafel co-host, and they have a fantastic episode. I know today's topic, we were talking about the NWA and the potential new television deal that Billy Pumpkins has gotten with the CW. Spoilers, the CW. And by the way, I might hate watch that show and do a review show if that's true, just so we're clear.
Ay.
How long did Piper spend in makeup for that waste of 2 minutes? No, I mean, it's not a waste. Anytime Piper's on screen is a delight. It's just that she has to be stood next to Chelsea Green, which is miserable. I don't like Chelsea Green. I know she's a Canadian, and all you Canadians are going to get on me about it. She's not. She's the only person who can debut for for the same company. Oh, hold on. Camera has unfocused. There we go. She's the only person who can debut 3 times on WWE television and get hurt each and every time she debuted.
Yes. Unfortunately.
We get Carmelo Hayes watching a video package and the show, and then Braun Breaker comes in and confronts him and talks about how if he has that attitude that lets him take out his best friend, that he can once again become the NXT champion next week. He won't. Sorry. I love Mello. I think he's great. It's going to be a fun match.
I know. He's
not winning the title. Barry says, I agree with you, Ed. She's bloody awful. I don't think she's an awful wrestler. I've never liked anything she did. Ever. And that includes the drunk bride bullshit she did in Impact. Yeah. That was something. We then get a recap of what's going to happen next week on the show. We've got Garza's versus the Creeds in tables, ladders, and scares. We've got Nathan versus Dominic Mysterio in a North American Championship match. We've got Carmelo Hayes versus Ilja Dragunov in the main event for the NXT Championship. For the women's tag team titles, we got Piper Niven and Chelsea Green taking on Thea Hale and JC Jane of Chase University. Chase University could have all of the tag team gold in their hands next week. They won't, but they could until Tia Hale screws it up somehow. We also have Tiffany destroying Fallon Henley next week for the disrespectful nature of what happened tonight. And the breakout finals are going to happen. And oh boy, that's going to be something. Jade Cargill shows up to NXT in a throne on the Eagle's Nest as we prepare for Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch. This show got a 15 to 20 minute overrun to have this match get about 20 minutes, I want to say. I think Lyra started coming out at about 9:55, and the match didn't end until a good 10:15. So they got a good 15 to 20 minutes out of this match. Astrid, what were your thoughts?
I mean, I thought they did great. I was wondering how their chemistry was going to be, but I loved it. I love every bit of it from beginning to end. It was like the back and forth and then the bridges, and I feel like they were like showing out for each other the way they were. And, you know, the one point of like Becky going for the pin, and then they going, first it was Lyra going for the pin, and she gets shocked when Becky kicks out of the kick. And then same thing with the big handle slam. She gets shocked when Lyra kicks out, and that's how Lyra's able to like up one her and win over that. But my favorite part was at the end to her taking that championship, presenting it to Lyra. But before she does, she looks back at Jade in the Eagle's Nest. Before she does, she hands it to Lyra, and they hug to celebrate her win. And it feels not, I don't want to say weird and not like a negative tone, but it feels odd at the same time to have the NXT Women's Championship shake hands on two like random Tuesdays at this point, it makes it like unexpected in that type of way, which I loved. But yeah, just like it's nice to see it going from one Irish to another Irish now, and I like seeing the video from the crowd just chanting for both of them as the match was happening, and the chants from the crowd just made it even better. So yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, it was a fun match. I think Lyra had the best match of her career. I think her and Becky must have practiced this match at least once or twice. Becky looked pretty good in this match. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Becky Lynch. Again, it wasn't great. No Becky Lynch match is great. Let's call a spade here. But it was a very good match. They had a good time. They had time. They developed a storyline. They kept it going, and in the end, Becky let her kick out of the manhandle slam, which is a big deal for a main roster talent to lose to an NXT talent on a random Tuesday night. I mean, we call it a random Tuesday night. I mean, at least this one's a named episode, unlike when she took the title off Tiffany. This is at least a named special edition episode of NXT. But it's definitely a way to surprise the crowd, because I don't think many people legitimately believed that Lyra Valkyria was going to win this match. I have two words that I hope for, which are transitional champion. I don't think that it's good for NXT to have the pinnacle of the NXT women's division be Lyra, the Bird Lady Valkyria, as their NXT women's champion.
Yeah, it was a shocking ending. At least it was just I mean, and it's just a good thing for them because it just shocked so many people that many people are going to be talking about it now.
Yeah. Chris Best says, I won't lie, I was legit shocked that Lyra won. I legit stopped everything I was doing when the 3 count happened and just soaked in her win. I agree. I was dumbfounded. I was writing up a tweet. I literally wrote the tweet during the match thinking I don't have to wait for the end of the match. I can just go ahead and say that the women were front and center. And I really should have waited a couple minutes, because if I had waited a couple minutes, I could have went that Lyra Valkyria shocked the world and won the NXT Women's Championship. Yeah, I think Blair's obviously the first challenger. I think Becky versus Jade is where Becky's headed next. I don't know what show that's going to be on. I don't know if it's going to be on NXT or Raw, but that's obviously the next match, it seems like, for Becky Lynch. Good to see Jade not get involved and just kind of be there.
Yeah.
But again, as Mike said, we were talking on Wrestle Draft last week, and Mike had a good point. Everybody needs to shit and get off the pot with Jade Cargill here. They're running out of time to just keep showing her everywhere and not tell us where she's going to be and what she's going to be doing. You can only keep doing this so many times. Like, it's obvious she's working, seemingly it's obvious she's working Becky. But when, where, and how are the main points going from there about how that goes. Astrid, speaking of where that goes, tell the good people where they can find you this week.
I'm trying to remember what day it is at this point. You can find me, I believe we're still really doing Ladies Fashion Showcase on Friday, focusing on the PWI that we didn't get to do last week. If you missed it, if you go on my YouTube channel, we do have the Bound for Glory post show that we had Saturday. That was when we learned about the rebrand of TNA again. Other than that, you can find me in X and Blue Skies, Astrid Pizarro. Instagram is Astrid Pizarro 20, and Threads too. And if you go on my Twitter, you'll definitely see my latest piece on Body Slam too.
Yes, and tell us what the piece is about. What's the topic of the piece?
It's about Blue Sky being misted by Julia Hart. What does that mean in the storyline?
She missed it an entire social media platform?
Yeah.
Sky Blue, not Blue Sky.
Sky Blue. Sky Blue. Her and Willow getting misted, so like the effects on that in the storyline, basically.
Barry says, I'm getting bored of seeing Cargill. Mind you, I thought she was awful in AEW. I understand why people think she's a star. I think she has the ability to be a star. I don't think she is one. And if she doesn't improve in the ring, her star power is going to quickly go from great to nothing very quickly. You can find me on the X at EdFries12584. You can find me on the Twitch at EdFries2002, where all of my gaming content will eventually someday, when I'm not doing so many shows on our local establishment, will live again. You can also catch me tomorrow night as me and Perez start up season 3 of Wrestle Draft, as I am now the reigning, defending, undisputed Wrestle Draft champion, season 2. You can also catch me this Thursday night after the end of Ring Respect Radio, as me and Andre C will be talking live the same night as the episode airs. Less than 2 hours later, we'll be talking all things Loki, episode 4. Victor Timely's finally in the TVA. What's going to happen there? Find out this Thursday. And then next week, you can find us back here, talk about NXT Night 2. But for myself, for the natural Astrid Pizarro, we're going to go ahead and send you over to our good friend Mike the Ref. So thank you all for joining us. Make sure you stay tuned and go ahead and see Mike the Ref. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Everyone is watching me when I'm gone.